Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. I have products I've hit pan on video, and I am filming in a slightly different setup because I don't have enough sunlight to film with and I wanted to film today. So I'm just making do with what I have, and I have 7 new pans. The majority of them are eyeshadows, but I do have pan on a blush and I'm so excited about it. So I'm actually going to talk about that one first. This is from the Natasha Denona Love Glow Cheek Palette. And I hit pan on the blush labeled Super Glow. Oh man, this palette is so messy. Okay. And with this ring light, I'm really hoping it doesn't just completely blank out the whole thing. But can you see that giant pan in there? My goodness. I recently put this in my project pan. I think if I really focus on it for this next month and the month after, so the rest of November and December, I might be able to finish it by the end of the year. For the majority of this year, I was wearing a blush from PYT in the shade Exhale. I was showing that during my project pan, and I wore it for like 9 months straight and barely made any progress. So this is just like so different from that. And it's just been really nice. So I'm gonna keep wearing it. I really love it. And it's definitely a lot glowier and straight up more sparkly than I typically go for, but I'm just enjoying that right now, so I'm gonna keep at it. The rest of them are eyeshadows. I do have one, maybe 2 matte shadows, so I'll start with those. The first one is a single from Sydney Grace in the shade Haven. I have been filmed so long with a ring light that I don't even know if it's picking up that pan there. I think you can see it there. And this shade is really beautiful. I love these like pale, cool toned purple colors. This reminds me a lot of Makeup Geek Petal Pusher, which I finished, I think, last year and really missed it. So I'm glad to have an alternative version of it in my collection now. They aren't exact dupes, but I think for me they're close enough. And I really love these kinds of colors for the crease. Something about this shade, and I think people have mentioned in the comments that they've also had this experience with some Sydney Grace mattes, but this would hard pan really quickly. And so it got to a point where I needed to use like a spoolie or something to scratch the surface to kind of make it easier to pick up product again. And once I got underneath that layer of hardened product, I didn't have any trouble with it, but the outer portions of the pan I think still might be a little hard panned. So the dip is like one very specific crater, and then the pan is sitting in the middle of that. So it's just a very unique way of hitting pan on a shade, and I may need to use a spoolie on the outer edges again just to make it easier to pick up that product if I ever wanted to finish this shade. And then once I hit pan on it and I was ready to move on to a new shade, I moved over to a palette from this Franken-palette of a bunch of different Colourpop eyeshadow palettes. And so it's under the label Lush, but I don't think that's the original shade name. But it's very similar to Haven. It's not as purple. Actually, now that I look at them side by side, they are very different. Haven is definitely a lot more purple, but I kind of use them in similar ways, is what I should say. And this has been really beautiful. I've continued to wear it regularly even after I hit that initial pan. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say outside of that because, you know, this is just a very me type of shade to wear. And then the other shade that I hit pan on in this palette, again, it's labeled Made to Last, but I don't know if that's the original shade. And I use this religiously as an inner corner highlight. It's a really beautiful, sparkly, bright pink color, and I loved it. I think it's beautiful. I'm wearing this as an inner corner today, and I continue reaching for it whenever I have this palette open. And the final 3 eyeshadow pans I have are actually all from the same palette. I've been reaching for my LH Cosmetics Shimmer Saga a lot more recently, and I actually have pan on 3 out of the 4 shades. So I have pan on all 3 shades except for this one here in the top corner. And I would kind of just like wear one regularly until I hit pan and then move on to the next shade. And yeah, I've worn this palette over 100 times now, so that's exciting. And I'm just glad to see so much progress on this palette in particular because it's more expensive. I think this is like $55. And these are beautiful topper shades. I can easily pair them with a lot of looks I'm wearing. In fact, I have this shade Love over my eyeshadow today. I just kind of add a little bit of NYX glitter glue and then pop one of these on the center of the lid, and it just adds a lot of beautiful dimension to the look. If you don't use a glitter glue, you will get glitter fallout. They are very sparkly and piecey like that, but I don't mind it. It's beautiful. You use a little glitter glue and you don't have to worry about it. So that's so exciting. I don't know if I've ever had a palette where 3/4 of the shades had pan in them, and I'm hoping to hit pan on this last shade here so that there's pan on every shade. Who knows, maybe potentially I'll try to work on it even more and eventually finish it. I don't know. I'm not a pan that palette type of person, but I might make an exception for this because these are really special colors. And that is it. I actually have quite a few eyeshadows that I'm close to hitting pan on, so I might have another update relatively soon. I'm not sure. But that was everything I had to share. I have a products I've hit pan on playlist if you'd like to see more stuff like this. But yeah, that's everything, and I thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video.